like you said, the roller coaster of up and down this season. We talked last show about the decisions that have to be made.
When were the ups?
Week 1 and week 2.
Okay.
Week 1 and week 2. That's you said that was
Rizzy clogged the toilet and they won. Against
there were some
Falcons.
ups in there.
All right.
There were some ups in there. But
Taysom Hill, Offensive Player of the Week.
we went
Remember that?
long
We just listed
time
5
ago.
wins.
But
I'm just saying, to me, since week 2, it's felt like the Tower of Terror. Like it doesn't. I wouldn't call it a roller coaster. It's the Tower of Terror.
Well, that's ups and downs. That's
but it's
literally
both.
what that ride is.
It's pauses on the way down. Really, like it is a.
we're experiencing technical difficulties.
Yeah, it's
you
a
guys
crash.
are stuck in
It's
the
a,
middle
it's
of
a slow. It's a crash.
Yeah, for sure. But we talked last episode about how there's a lot of decisions that have to be made going into this offseason. I think this is one of the most important off seasons for the trajectory of the team going forward, kind of in the last good bit of years. But how aggressive do you think Mickey Loomis will be, the guy in the big chair, the dude making all pretty much of the decisions?
I don't know if this should have been a factor in any decision making of firing Dennis Allen midseason, but one thing that I didn't think about is as soon as you fire the head coach, you are standing out. You're painting a bullseye in your chest and you're painting a bullseye in your back, and you're saying, "Everyone, look at me now." I mean, Mickey Loomis has never been talked about so much by the fan base than in the last 6. Like as soon as Dennis Allen was out of here, all targets were set on Mickey Loomis. I think his popularity is lower than ever. I think like everybody like now blaming him for everything that's gone wrong with this franchise, and Dennis Allen's a distant memory has gone on, and he's got to get this right. Yeah, he's got to get this right. Now, I'm not going to give him any benefit of the doubt because this team has made nothing but wrong decisions in recent years. But the one thing I will say is I think everyone is terrified. Mickey Loomis always does the easy thing. Mickey Loomis always does the comfortable thing. The only time we've definitely seen that is the Dennis Allen hire. And we know Mickey Loomis's MO is, I want to have a consistent continuity, stability like the Pittsburgh Steelers. And it's kind of hard to argue with that theory when you are winning at least 7 games for, almost 20 straight years. They had the best record in football for a while. They had Sean Payton and Drew Brees. Continuity and stability should be a goal. That better not be the goal now. Like, we're going to find out now. When he hired Dennis Allen, he wrongfully wanted continuity and stability and thought things were good. Him, the front office, the ownership, everybody better believe it now. Clearly, they need a different approach now. The last time this happened was 2005. They hired Sean Payton. They overhauled, half the roster. They made front office changes. I hope they're like, yeah, this is different than the last 20 years of continuity and stability. I hope so. So I'm at least going to reserve judgment, not give benefit of the doubt, not say we know he's going to make the right choice based on old moves, but I hope it's different. I hope it doesn't feel like they're going for continuity and stability this time.
2 things, just the push back just a little bit. Like I think Mickey would be getting dragged through the mud if DA was still in place, and it might even be worse because then it would just look like
that's true.
It would look like inaction, and I think he would still be taking all them bullets. But he's definitely out in front more so than he ever has been. And I think for people that are nervous, I think in their thought process, it's justified to be nervous because Mickey's made, I would say 3 major decisions. One was, like, since he's been here, one was hiring Sean Payton, absolute home run. One was hiring Dennis Allen, definitely a strikeout or at least a pitch that was fouled off and caught to end the game. Not a good decision. And I think you could pair in the third one is like the decision not to fire him in season. What was another one, and that was kind of done by somebody else. He might have eventually got to it. I think it might have deteriorated to a point where like it would have had to have happened, but in that moment, I don't think so. So I get it. Like I get the nervousness, but
absolutely. If you're not nervous, who couldn't be nervous right now? Yeah.
There's one hit, one miss in the hiring department. I understand the logic behind the miss though. So. I don't know. Well, I think he absolutely has to get this one right. Yes. As far as being aggressive, like I think they're going to try to get a good coach. I hope it's somebody on the upswing and not the downswing trying to retread their way back to things. I hope that they're kind of aggressive in trying to turn the page to something new. But I honestly don't know the answer to any of these things though. But I do think that there's like an element of maybe like overstating the level, like there's this like belief that everything has been criminally incompetent for forever, and I think that's a little bit overstated. But of course I understand how it gets there, and it always gets there. They act like, you go read Patriots stuff, and they act like the Patriots are like the signature of incompetence in the NFL, and it's like, well, it's only been that for like 2 years, and they're trying to find their way out of the previous era, and it's really hard to be the Packers. It just really is. Most teams aren't. So, like, I get it. I understand where people are coming from. I understand why they're uncomfortable. I don't necessarily agree with the high level of discomfort, but I'm definitely looking at them like, yo, you have to get this right. I think everything you're judged on is on this hire now, because you had one good one bad one. If you don't lead them out of it, it kind of, the narrative is going to be what it is, and you missed twice. And I just don't think that you can. I mean, for multiple reasons, you can't miss twice. The legacy being the least important one of them, but the organization can't afford to miss. You miss again here, like you're on that path to
Jacksonville Jaguars territory.
Yeah, Browns, Lions before Campbell. Like it's tough to get out of that.
Yeah, look, the other reason for nervousness is, and this is something that's true about Mickey Loomis. He said it a million times. Is he doesn't believe in the radical change that you see around the NFL a lot. He thinks the teams like, I won't put the teams in his mouth, but we know who they are, the Jets and the Panthers and the Raiders and the Browns that are firing head coaches every 2 or 3 years, switching quarterbacks every 2 or 3 years. He absolutely doesn't think that's the model. So I think every one of us here, I know a majority of the fan base, I know analysts who look at the league think, all right, Saints, it's time to do one of those pretty extensive rebuilds and not try to keep a lot of the players, a lot of the core together and make small changes. And we don't know if he'll ever do that. And I can't say for sure that that's the right path, because that leads to you're in a bind. You talk about the Patriots. When you lose Belichick and Brady, when you lose Peyton and Breeze, there's not a lot of easy ways out of that, whichever direction you take. But, I mean, when we say how aggressive, he's also, this is a factor. He's 69 years old. These are going to be the last hires and major decisions he probably makes to set up the organization for whatever goes beyond him. So we are all wondering, will he make front office structure changes? Would he bring on anyone that's like a young GM that's like a protege? Would he make any changes in the college scouting department, the personnel department? Would the coaching hire have to do that? I'm just very, very curious how he approaches this. The one thing I will say, though, is we do know about all his head coaching hires. There have been so few of them. We judge him on Sean Payton and Dennis Allen. I think his front office hire track record has been pretty good. And I think, Ryan Pace and Terry Fontenot came from within the organization, became GMs elsewhere. He empowered them enough to get that kind of credit, to get GM jobs elsewhere. Hired Jeff Ireland, who he never worked with before, who was a dynamic personality, who got all the credit for all that draft success over him, so he wasn't afraid to hire him. Hired Dave Ziegler this year, who he had never worked with, who came from different organizations this year. So Kai Harley, he had never worked with before. He runs and a lot of those guys have had success. So I don't think he, like the only notion of he only hires people he's worked with before, that he's comfortable with, that he's familiar with, that'll say yes to him. He's shown that he's willing to hire outside of the organization. So I hope that is the case again this time.
Yeah, the yes man thing, I don't understand that.
Yeah.
I mean, like he hired Sean Payton. He probably like shit on ideas for 15 years. like I don't understand where that one came from. But yeah, they gotta get it right. They gotta figure it out. They gotta make the right hires. I mean, look, everything we've seen though, like we can say he did all this stuff, but everything in this last regime was comfort. Like I can't sit here and act I can't sit here and act like it wasn't. Like
that's what they got wrong this time, no doubt about it.
Everything was comfort. So if there is a perception of yes men and all that, so like everything, like the old act is the old act now. We're in the current act. So like whatever they're doing now, you got to see it. So I can't sit here and say all this, like, I think a lot of people are wrong, but I can't sit here and say that those opinions are unfounded. Like there is evidence saying that, like, okay, they did this, man, they made them keep the staff. Like even though they didn't, it looks like they did. They didn't go out and, It felt kind of rigged from the beginning to hang on to the past, the continuity. They said continuity up there. So they wanted something comfortable. I just hope that they got uncomfortable enough in that living environment that it goes back to what we saw kind of in their DNA before. And we'll see how it goes from there. But, we'll see. I mean, we'll see.
That adage of if you're not moving, you're losing. That's right now. You have to be moving. You have to stir the pot, keep things fresh. But you brought up an interesting point earlier about the Packers being an organization who has had turnover but still has been good. Is there any other example that you could think about of a transition point where the team really didn't have too much of a drop off when they changed quarterbacks, when they changed head coaches, when they changed like kind of some of the internal cogs and pieces?
Hold on. Sorry, just to go back to a previous point too, just about like not wanting to fire coaches and that, though, like I'm okay with firing Lovie Smith if he's not the right guy in 1 year. Like those are the decisions you have to make. And if we're talking about being aggressive, like that's the aggressiveness I think you need to see in this as you go forward. If there is another mistake, you can't just sit on it for 3 years. Like make a move early, kind of, okay, this isn't working, be ready to move on and go on from it. Like there's more than one way to get to success. And like the patience thing, patience is only warranted if it pays off. Like all this patience on DA did not pay off in the end. So that is bad patience. That's not good patience. Like if you hire Lovie Smith and Lovie Smith, oh man, we really screwed this up. Don't sit on it for 3 years because the Steelers do. Like cut bait and go to the next guy, and that can lead you to immediate success. So like the aggressiveness, I don't think we see that change. I don't think we see that DNA change to where like they would, okay, what if they screw up this next head coach? Will he get 3 years? Yeah, he will. Like he isn't just going to get one. Like it isn't like, I don't think we'll see any of that kind of change. And I think there should be a willingness towards some of that. And if there are things wrong in the front office, like there should be a willingness to kind of move on from that. And like, that's the stuff I'm waiting to see, is if there's anything up top that changes, or if it's just like, you know, it does feel, until we see something different, it does feel like I am worried about settling into something familiar.
No, you're exactly right. I'm as curious about what's the approach as I am what's the hire. Like you're probably going to get the hire wrong. I mean, what do the odds say? What like 2 out of 8 every cycle are good hires, and the other 6 are bad, or don't have success for a number of reasons. Like you could hire the best coach in this cycle, and it's possible they could not have success with what they're presented with the current state of the Saints. But I am way more curious almost about the approach than who they actually wind up with. But to answer your question on teams, everyone that comes to my mind is getting the quarterback right. You know, I mean, the Chiefs go from playoffs with Alex Smith to dynasty with Patrick Mahomes because they got the quarterback right. But yeah, through multiple coaches is a good question. I mean, there's ones that were built and handed off to the successor. George Seifert won a Super Bowl after Bill Walsh. Jim Caldwell went to the Super Bowl after Tony Dungy. But sustained success through multiple coaches. The Packers have done it because they keep getting quarterback right. That's the other big piece of this for sure.
Yeah.
What do we expect to happen on Monday? Does everyone get let out of their contract? What do they do?
I think the way this normally happens is Darren Rizzi, unless they're guaranteeing him the job, I think they have to tell him you're allowed to interview for other jobs. And I think they usually tell coordinators they're allowed to interview for other jobs. Like, I don't think they would bar them from acting as if they're free agents, right?
I would hope not. I mean, I don't think they will, but
I don't see what the benefit is in telling them no. Like, let them explore. Let them see what's up.
Yeah.